Welcome to Om Times TV, a division of Om Times Media and Broadcasting. What happens in the sky affects life down here on Earth. The celestial compass shows you how and guides your way with astrology you can use from professional astrologer Kathy Beal. Every episode features her light-hearted, practical forecasts and navigational tips, blended with humor, optimism, and a love of patterns, symbolism, and pop culture references. Kathy translates technicalities into concepts that apply to real life. You'll learn how the current moment ties to where we've been, from the recent past to cycles that last happened years ago, and get a look at where we're heading. And much more, from special topics to special guests. The Celestial Compass, enlightening, entertaining, and empowering. Here's your host, Kathy Beal.
Greetings, Earthlings. I'm Kathy Beal of EmpowermentUnlimited.net, welcoming you to Celestial Compass. I usually start my episode with an update of the astrological forecast. I will refer you to my forecasts at EmpowermentUnlimited.net and also omtimes.com, because today we're going to talk about the big event of September and beyond. And I'm very happy to welcome back Louise Edington. Brief intro for those who are new to her work. She's been studying and practicing astrology for more than 30 years and working professionally as an evolutionary Shamanic Astrologer since 2012, known as the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology. And you see that the owl is in the house. Louise loves to combine all of her passions as an astrologer, author, shamanic practitioner, and certified hypnotherapy and past life regression therapist. She's the author of The Complete Guide to Astrology and Tarot, The Complete Guide to Astrology, and Modern Astrology, Harness the Stars to Discover Your Soul's True Purpose. Hey, Louise.
Hey, nice to be here.
So we're going to just be talking about eclipses today. And I just want to start with the odd notion that an elderly astrologer I know who's been practicing for decades and decades and decades is actually terrified of eclipses, which I find astonishing. They are extraordinarily useful and revealing in my experience and practice. And I'm just wondering at the outset, how do you use eclipses?
I love eclipses. It's like they are revealing and they're kind of resets. And we did see that the big eclipse of 2017, the Great American Eclipse, did split the country in two politically, but it also revealed a lot of what needed to be changed. And when eclipses have hit my own chart and clients' charts in a big way, they've only brought good things, really. I think they bring opportunities. I do not fear them at all.
I welcome them. I see them as bringing issues back around again for revisiting and resetting. I use reset, and I see a solar eclipse as installing a new operating system,
Yep.
and a lunar eclipse as ending chapters, revealing what's been going on outside your field of vision and
Mhm.
booting things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And we have some big ones coming up. So,
We have some big ones coming. Now, we've been operating since March of 2023 with eclipses in the signs of Aries and Libra.
and
I have
now,
my opinions about what they've been doing. What have you seen?
well, I've seen real kind of new beginnings, which is Aries and Libra. They're cardinal signs. I've seen, new starts for a lot of people, or at least the seeds of new starts that are going to unfold over New Year's. A new kind of let's because we're on air publicly, let's choose my language. A new way of not people pleasing anymore, and not kind of taking a stand more for ourselves and standing up for ourselves, which is very Aries North Node, and getting clearer on what we want, I think, really. And but also being prepared. I don't think I want to make the South Node in Libra all bad either, because the eclipses are always new and full moons on the nodes. Um, I don't. I don't think I think we're learning to come together and speak to each other again as well, which is the positive side of Libra.
I've seen these as bringing our relationship rule books up for reconsideration and encouraging
Mhm.
people to stop playing the Libra game of trying to figure everything out at the outset and to set things up in a way that you think someone else is going to want to try to get buy-in, and instead to just do your own thing towards
Mhm.
the Aries end of it and figure that other people will take care of themselves. And it's fascinating. This eclipse cycle is mostly solar eclipses,
It is, yes, yeah,
very
and
different from what we're moving into.
yeah, and very big ones. I was lucky enough to see yeah, the April the 8th one. I went to Texas to see that, and yeah. So yeah, shall we dive into what they are, or do you want to explain more about what eclipses are and cycles, or shall we go into that first?
Oh,
Mm.
whatever you
Mm.
feel would be important to say.
Well, I think it's important that people know that eclipses come in cycles. They're two cycles. There's Saros and Matonica. I don't think we have time to explain what all that means. But this eclipse, this big solar eclipse that we have coming up, that's October the 2nd, is almost exactly the same place as an eclipse in 2005, so we'll look back at that. We're also looking at the shift between eclipses going into, from Aries and Libra into Virgo and Pisces, and that's very significant in the summer of 68. So we're going to look at that a bit as well. But that also ties in with that 19-year cycle, because in 67, that was the 19-year cycle leading into 68. So eclipse cycles are very significant. But I think this one, shifting from Aries into Libra, back into Pisces and Virgo, is always kind of the bigger shift, because you're moving from Aries, North Node, the first sign of the zodiac, back into the last sign of the zodiac, and they're so very different. I always feel that this shift has some more oomph towards it. What do you think?
Well, clearly we're going from, excuse me, this being catapulted. I've been seeing booster rockets being
Mhm.
catapulted into being more self-determining, self-actualizing, just
Yeah,
going ahead and going for it, to reminders of, oh, wait a minute, we are all together.
exactly.
Uh-oh, what are we going to do with this? So to give some details here, the next eclipse cycle starts in September. So we're going to have two overlapping cycles. The Aries Libra one doesn't wrap up until March.
Mhm.
And this new one starts and is going to be with us until March of 2027. And
Mhm.
this new one is in the signs of Virgo and Pisces. And it starts with a lunar eclipse, the full moon in Pisces,
Mhm.
conjunct Neptune, the ruler of Pisces. We could
Yeah.
talk for the next hour about that sentence.
Oh gosh, we could, but we've got more to say than that, because the annular eclipse that's on October the 2nd at 10 degrees Libra is over 7 minutes long. So I think we need to leave space for that. And it's conjunct Mercury, which is huge.
So, what we have coming this month, we're already feeling, because eclipses start, you can notice them ahead of time. Let's start with what's the difference in what's being re-examined when we move from Aries Libra to Pisces Virgo?
Yeah, individuality, self-determination. I really think we've been on a path of finding out really who we are now in this kind of shifting time what we're in, which is, a whole other thing to go into. I feel I've changed personally. I've got kind of stronger in my kind of core self and my values, and I see it with all my clients. But now, as you said, we're moving into this Pisces of remembering that we're all in this together. And I don't want to go too deep into the politics, but you can hear it already. In the words of Kamala Harris, she keeps saying, "We're all in this together. We're all in this together." And so I think we are realizing this, and people are starting to kind of shift together, and that will be in all areas of life as well. Though I think we're seeing also a shift into realizing that we're in this together with nature and the cosmos as well, and Pisces is such an interesting sign to me, and it really is that interconnectedness of everything, the cosmic soup of creation, if you like. And then Virgo on the opposite side is how we bring that down to earth to create meaningful work in the world, and more
There's
humble beginnings.
There's also the element of boundaries
Yeah.
with with Virgo. I'm so sorry. My
Mhm.
sinuses have decided that right now they
No.
want to be active. How Piscean of them! Stop it.
Yeah.
But Virgo is ruled by Mercury, mental, intellectual, discriminating, think about things, look at
Mhm.
life as an improvement project. What can I do about this? Easy to see what is wrong.
Mhm.
Pisces ruled by Neptune, or in traditional astrology, Jupiter, which has this boundless quality to it. It's more like faith, belief,
Yeah.
shutting the mind down and just becoming one.
And trusting that, all those kind of things. Yeah, it's but also a lot of cleansing. I always think Virgo Pisces, the whole axis has this kind of real cleansing and purifying element to it as well, with Pisces being a water sign, kind of washing away. And then Virgo, again, really kind of getting down to the nuts and bolts of the chop wood, carry water kind of energy of, right, what are we going to do now? What are we, make work? And I find it interesting that, people have started already taking a shift towards more kind of humble working class kind of that approach to life, like, humble beginnings. Let's get down to nuts and bolts, what the people really want in their lives, in everywhere, Yeah.
Someone, I ran across a meme this morning that I sent to one of my usual suspects that says, "Somewhere a Virgo is making life better for you."
Yes, I saw that one too. I love that one.
Yeah, I had to send that to my resident Virgo.
Yeah. Well, I have some very favorite Virgos in this world, I'm actually gonna see one on September the 3rd. Keanu Reeves with his band Dogstar. He's one of my favorite Virgos.
Oh, lucky you, lucky
He's
you.
always he's always doing good for people, and he's such a humble guy. I love Virgo. It's like, yeah.
And there's a nice little snark with it sometimes too. But anyway, that's not
Yes.
part of the full moon. So a full moon culminates at the kind of we have a full moon in Pisces. So there's like a really huge boundless quality. Full
Mhm.
lunar eclipses tend to be full moons on steroids times 100 times 1,000 when Neptune's ruling it. When Neptune is conjunct it, Lord knows. Do you have any expectations? There we go. Do you have any expectations of the full moon that's the lunar eclipse that's gonna set this family off?
I I kind of feel like it as kind of this big, kind of sudden, sudden or illumination of this real interconnectedness. It's like almost like um, eyes wide open, suddenly going, "Oh my God, yeah, we are connected to all of this, like the cosmos, each other, everything." And of course, eclipses unfold over some time, but it's a big full moon. And so I really do kind of think a lot more people are suddenly kind of going to get this spiritual, for want of a better word, um, awakening. I don't know. I hate those words, but I can't think of any better ones at the moment. It's
Mhm.
it's just this big cosmic consciousness, kind of like, oh wow, yes, everything works together.
Well, one of those moments when you look in the sky and suddenly you see God everywhere, and these
Yeah,
moments do happen.
they do. Yeah. And this one is absolutely huge in that respect. It's because Neptune is the modern guide to Pisces, or ruler, whichever term you prefer to use. We've also got Saturn, retrograde in Pisces. I think Saturn retrograde in Pisces has been letting go of a lot of those old boundaries and rules. It's going to feel like the cosmos is boundless, I think. Yeah,
Interesting. Well, there's so
yeah.
many aspects to this one, and keep in mind, everyone, that this is what is launching. This is the champagne bottle
Yes,
hitting the ocean liner of this eclipse family. So
yes.
there's something very, very important to it. And
Mm,
what strikes me, what jumps out at me is Neptune being conjuncted
mm,
and Neptune nearing the end of its time in Pisces. So
mhm.
I am expecting, although expecting when you've got Neptune is kind of like,
I know.
"Oh, you foolish mortal," but, I'm expecting there to be a huge component of seeing what's been going on
Oh,
since Neptune entered Pisces in April of 2011,
yeah,
getting massive revelations
like the
about
clouds parting or
yeah,
something. Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the sun, of course, opposing it from Virgo, kind of going, "Oh, now that makes sense."
let's add to this that we're just confusing everybody here, but Pluto, which
Sorry.
I see as an agent of unavoidable change,
Mhm.
making its final visit to the sign of Capricorn, is in a sextile or an opportunity aspect to
Mhm.
this. So I think that adds to the piercing revelatory probabilities of
Yeah,
this particular eclipse.
and to confuse it even more, we've got that mini grand trine between Pluto, Uranus, and Neptune, who are all changing signs over the next couple of years into air and fire signs from earth and water signs. And they're all speaking to each other. So it's a major kind of ending and new beginnings coming with all of this. And some of it will be quite dynamic and powerful, I think, as well. So I don't think you need to understand the aspects just to know that, it's all kind of coming to this big culmination almost. Yeah.
And there's a huge moment of seeing what's been going on behind the curtain that is possible with this.
That really excites me.
And then we have a couple of years of playing it out. And I want to point out that I mentioned that the Aries Libra eclipses, which we're not done with, there's a
Nope.
big one in October, there's the final one in March. Those
Mm,
have been mostly solar eclipses, mostly forward propelling
mhm.
events. Most of the eclipses in this next family are lunar eclipses, which are culminations and endings and booting
Yeah.
things out.
Yeah. So we're going to see a lot of endings over the next couple of years. And Pisces, I always think of as just kind of let go and let God, if you like, as well. It's another term for it. If you want to, it's such a one of Pisces. I always think of that. There's another meme going around. You mentioned a meme of somebody trying to kind of create a wall between the ocean and the beach, like putting hammering in these pegs at the end of the wave as it joins the beach, and trying to hold back the tide. You can't. It's 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 so big. So
Well, okay, though this brings to mind, let's talk a bit about recurrences with this, because every time an eclipse cycle comes back around, you can look back to the previous cycle and the cycles before it. And the eclipses in Pisces and Virgo were last 2005 to 2007. Is that right? Yes.
yes, they were. Yeah,
And you mentioned before we went live something really big that happened in 2005.
in Katrina. Yeah. So, I would say if you're in Hurricane Alley, I would, make sure you're very well protected, because I think, there's going to be that big kind of cleansing storms in many ways. And some of it, be positive, and some of it it depends on your perspective as well. So, but I do think, the likelihood, and we've seen already that storms are getting bigger. So, I think there's probably going to be some bigger weather storms. You can see weather coming in astrology as well. So would you agree with that one?
Oh, I just think this first eclipse near the end of Pisces, conjunct Neptune at the end of the zodiac, has
Mm,
tsunami written all over it. I
I
mean,
think
water events, the ocean just
so.
coming,
Yep.
coming, coming. And I live close enough where it could hit me. So you
Mhm.
don't, but I do. I've
Yeah.
had that. So the fact that this is during actual hurricane season, we should take
Yeah.
this very seriously. And think of what happened after Katrina, all right? That certain towns, certain cities had people had to relocate, huge amounts
Mhm.
of New Orleans moved into Houston, uh,
Yeah.
in a football stadium, I think, and people just relocated and relocated and relocated. I'm not sure New Orleans has completely recovered yet
No,
from
I
Katrina.
no, I don't think it has. And so, anywhere that's susceptible to that, please kind of have a plan. I think really, I don't believe in kind of living in this petrified kind of fear. I believe in planning and preparation and being aware. So, take that approach, in my opinion. So,
And I'll just weave in here a thought that goes back to all the outer planets playing into this, and that
mhm.
is, please pay attention to your dreams these days.
Oh,
Pisces
yeah.
rules dreams, Neptune rules dreams, and I don't mean the sitting on the, sitting on the porch and looking out at the sky, although those could be good, but
Mhm.
you could be getting really important information in your dreams. I've talked to clients who've had astonishing
I
dreams, where the symbolism has hit them over the head, and if you experience this.
I have to, yeah, and even what I would call, people who are very, well, I think we're all psychically attuned if we let ourselves explore it. But for example, I've got a friend who's a psychic medium, and I've just interviewed her on my YouTube channel, and we've been friends for a long time. She said, the messages coming through now are just like so powerful. So, whatever space you need to put yourself in to receive that, dreams, tuning into your, for want of better word, psychic awareness. I think we all are. We can tune in. You're gonna get some very important revelations. Yeah. Yeah.
So there could be useful and there could be amazing art that comes out of this.
Oh,
Amazing
absolutely.
stories, amazing new myths, who knows? Or you might
Yeah.
start looking at everything that's going on out in the world from an archetypal standpoint. You might feel like we're living in a bunch of Greek myths, which we might be.
We are. Well, quantum scientists are wondering if we're actually kind of real, So, yeah, Neptune and Pisces is very much associated with film and art and create that kind of glimmery, glittery creativity. So, yeah, I really kind of hope that this is bringing the end of the disaster movie trend because I'm just like, have we done that? Have
Oh,
we done that
interesting.
to bits? Yeah,
Interesting. Hmm.
and brings a bit more magic back in, you know. Mhm.
We're overdue for some good magic films.
Yeah.
We had started with the notion of recurrences and what happened in 2005. There is
Mhm.
another earlier cycle that many of us lived through that is at play now. In the
Mm.
summer of 1968, we were in the lead into an overlap. We were in Aries Libra eclipses, and that fall, Pisces Virgo eclipses started.
Yeah, yeah,
What now,
and
a lot was going on then.
well, the summer of '68 keeps being coming back up for so many reasons, not least of which we've, got Uranus and Pluto speaking to each other as well, and that was a Uranus-Pluto conjunction. But '68 was particularly crazy. We had the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. There was all kinds of. There was a battle. There was Vietnam War. There was civil rights coming up. There was all the um, fighting and protesting at the Democratic Convention in '68, but
Which
which
was in Chicago,
which was in Chicago, and
same
people and
city as now.
a lot of astrologers predicted similar things happening. I saw people saying it was going to be doom and gloom because it was, but sure enough, it wasn't. Though I think there was one fence pushed over. It was like, and but there was riots after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. The Civil Rights Act was signed, and clearly we've seen some reversals on that one recently. Uh, in UK, I don't want to because I'm from the UK. There was a politician in the UK called Enoch Powell who did a
Ah, yeah.
Rivers of Blood speech. If somebody wants to go and look that up, that was pretty horrific at the time too. So um, and anti-immigration in the UK. We All this is up again, to be quite honest. The themes,
The
but
themes.
I always think history doesn't repeat, it rhymes. So the themes come up again, and yeah.
Well, we'll have more to say about this in just a few minutes. We'll take our break now. Everybody, hang tight. We'll be back.
Home Times TV.
Want help with your own celestial compass? Visit my site, empowermentunlimited.net, for Astro Insight forecasts for each week, month, and new and full moon. Want to explore the personal impact? Make a decision? Understand another person? It is possible. Click the Services tab to book a personal session with me. That address again? empowermentunlimited.net.
Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Om Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Om Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Om Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Om Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Om Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Om Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. If we could find a way to get inside each other's minds. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes. Well, before you abuse, criticize, and accuse, walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back to Celestial Compass. We're talking today with the Cosmic Owl of Cosmic Owl Astrology, Louise Edington, and we're talking about eclipses. And right before the break, we touched on the fact that the current switchover in eclipses from Aries Libra to Pisces Virgo happened right during, or the summer of 1968 presaged that. So what we've just come through is like a recurrence of that kind of vibe. And that was an enormously catalytic, volatile time in U.S. history. Robert F. Kennedy was shot then as well. There were assassinations.
And he's in the news now.
He's in the news now, exactly. So this does not mean that, well, clearly, there was a Democratic National Convention with police brutality, protesters, people getting their heads bashed in, including newscasters, in Chicago in August of 1968. This time around, August of 2024, very, very different things happened. You read all these.
And the assassinations were before these eclipses too.
Right, they were before. So if you read all these dynamic, horrible things, the violence that happened in 68, we just have common themes now, not necessarily the same events.
Yeah. In fact, I would suggest in some ways, because I do believe in the cycles, rhyming, not repeating, that we're revisiting them and perhaps being invited to do them in a different way because we're in a time where all the other planets are in different places as well. That's basically yeah.
Well, and interestingly, you had mentioned Uranus and Pluto were conjunct in the mid to late 60s in the sign of Virgo.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are people who were born with that in their chart.
Mm-hmm.
And we are seeing, well, they've been prominent, but that convention definitely activated somebody who's got it.
Well, and her VP. Yeah.
But
he's born
in the middle of it.
Yeah, hers is so close, 2 degrees. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a different way of interacting with everything, of
Mhm.
community,
Mm.
uh, which leads me to one other thing that happened during that uh, Pisces Virgo eclipses that started in '68. I'd like to just remind people Woodstock happened in '69, and huge. I think it is the largest violence-free gathering of people, and it went on for days. Now, they ended up victimizing themselves. They overran the grounds. The townspeople had to feed all these
Yeah.
kids that showed up completely unprepared, but those people lived for 3 days
Mhm.
without anybody stabbing anybody, shooting anybody, throttling anybody. There was no violence, and
No.
that happened during this, and that's an example of the Piscean, you know, we're
Love,
all together,
love and peace.
love and peace, and
Yeah.
music.
Mhm. Mhm.
Music brought them all together.
Flower power. That kind of thing. And, we could see an emergence, it won't be the same again, but that kind of, putting a flower in the end of the tip of the barrel of a gun, and that kind of, and again, we see it coming. I have a friend who was in Chicago for the Democratic Convention. She was outside it, though. She was in the protests, but she said it was peaceful. It was very loving, you know? So it's
That
coming.
potential is with us, everybody.
Mhm. Yeah, it is.
So let's look specifically at
Mhm.
September and October, because
Mhm.
even though we have a lunar eclipse and then a solar eclipse, there is kind of a thematic commonality between an eclipse in Pisces and eclipse in Libra. Does that sound far-fetched?
Could you explain what you mean by that?
What I
And then
mean is each of them immerses us in some way in the fact that we're not alone, that
oh,
there are other
definitely.
considerations.
Oh, absolutely. Libra is, our Aries is kind of our identity, and Libra is relationships, and then Virgo and Pisces is kind of the greater relationships, and Virgo is kind of holistic health and individual kind of mind, body, spirit health. So they've got that, you know, same vibe, definitely. Relationships of how we relate to others in both individual relationships and the greater relationships. Yeah.
It's almost as if the Aries Libra eclipses have been firing each of us up, uh,
Mm,
giving us fueling our inner, I don't know what word I want to use, fire, gusto, life force,
yeah,
and now we're alongside others. It's not
yeah.
like we're just off by ourselves with our little jetpacks. By the way, I
Mm,
still want mine. Little jetpacks fly around. We've
exactly.
been promised them.
So this kind of me kind of, you know, um, it's all about me energy is definitely dissipating because of these two series of eclipses. And the shift into Virgo and Pisces is even bringing, I think, particularly with the Pisces energy coming in, is starting to see others with a bit more compassion. So there's less separation. People are starting to see each other more kindly and say, there's forgiveness. That's another Pisces word, I think, coming in as well, in all areas of life.
Forgiveness, compassion, empathy.
Yeah,
Those are big ones.
yeah, yeah. And we need that. Boy. But I see it already coming in for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm very interested in politics, but so if it's not your thing, I'm only using these as examples. But the fact that they had Kissinger speak on the final day of the Democratic Convention, not long before the new nominee, was a whole different vibe and shift. And And this was kind of more about just let's come together and see where we can find the common ground. So be kinder
Yeah, and
to
there
each
is a lot of that going on. And that's possible in your own it's actually
Exactly.
possible in your own lives.
I mean, I'm seeing it in my life. I just, I love to give examples of where it's showing out in the world, so people can then go and look and go in their own lives. Oh, I see this coming. I've already, over the last eclipses and the coming ones, reconnected with some people I hadn't connected with for quite a long time, because we've been in this huge time of separation as well. So yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
yeah, we're another cycle that has coincided with this is the first square between Jupiter and Saturn, which were conjunct in December 2020, right? And so so
Yeah.
we were all very, very isolated and separated
Mhm.
at when they were conjunct, and now we're testing. And the fact that the last couple of, well, just the difference between this Democratic National Convention and the one where everything was via Zoom,
Yes.
there was
Yeah.
an exuberance of we are all in one room.
Yeah. Let's have a party, yay. Which is also a bit Pisces to my mind. It's kind of let go. Everybody was crying, which is very Pisces as well, because it's an emotional water sign. Um, One other factor I think that makes this time very different to 68, there's so many differences, is that fixed star Regulus, from our perspective, shifted into Virgo from Leo at the end of 2011. This is the first Pisces Virgo eclipses with fixed star Regulus in the sign of Virgo. And I think that's making a huge difference, because that's after 2,160 years in Leo, the sign of the king, the royalty. So, yeah.
That is an excellent observation.
Mm, yeah.
All right. Well, so maybe we're in saner times. I don't know. We'll see. Uh,
Well, I do think we are. I think we're moving into kind of this more kind of humble, doing the right thing, which is the positive side of Virgo. There's many other shifts as well, of course, as we mentioned briefly, with all those slower moving planets, all changing signs at the same time together. We're moving into something that's very different to what we've been living ever, probably in history, to be quite honest. So,
I would agree. I would agree. We'll see
yeah,
that much more starting
yeah.
3 or 4 months into next year. Before we get done, let's look specifically at the solar eclipse in Libra in October.
Yeah, I didn't look at the past. Have you looked at the past? But just the astrology of it, I think I mentioned already that it's a big one. It's over 7 minutes long. It's an annular eclipse, so that's the ring of fire. So it's total, but the moon doesn't quite cover the whole face of the sun. And it's at 10 degrees Libra, which I know you and I both like numbers, so that's a 1, new beginnings. It's a south node eclipse, so it's endings and beginnings to my mind. So, and it's conjunct Mercury, which is at 11 degrees Libra. Funny that we're recording this as Mercury just stationed direct.
Yes.
But I think this is a new beginning. It's also conjunct true Black Moon Lilith, if people use Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon
Oh,
Lilith is
can
at
you
10
elaborate
degrees.
on that?
Well, Black Moon Lilith is obviously connected with the moon's cycle. It's not a physical body. It's associated with the moon's cycle, for want of a better word. But Black Moon Lilith in astrology is thought to be kind of the real raw elemental feminine kind of energy, the wild feminine that has been um, demonized basically for centuries, you know, by the patriarchy, not just men, because patriarchy hurts men as well, but by that hierarchical culture which we've been under for so long. I think that is ending. You know, well, we see women rising up for a start, not only in politics, but in many ways, women are just saying, no, we're not going back, we're not going in the corner. This is time for a new beginning, a new way. But because of everything else, I could almost see this eclipse launching, because things take a while to come out, launching something so new that's much more feminine, matriarchal, for want of a better word, but also more kind of circular, kind of. I think I've long thought there could even be amendments to the Constitution and things like definitely the ERA and voting rights and things like that. But I also wonder if they'll kind of change the hierarchy of governments to make them more circular in nature. You know what I mean?
It's truly anything is possible, particularly if there's an eclipse with Neptune on it right before to clear the way. So, and it's fascinating. Pisces is it's a feminine energy. Then we have a Venus ruled eclipse.
Yeah.
In October, that's also a feminine energy.
And Venus on the eclipse is at 11 degrees Scorpio, incidentally. So she's in a semi-sextile aspect to the eclipse. That's you know.
Now, what do you see that as doing?
Well, in Scorpio, I kind of see it of a kind of a release, a letting go, or a new beginning in kind of the sexual dynamic politics. And you know, I think we're going to regain it's also sexual healthcare, you know, reproductive healthcare. So I think that's going to get encoded into law, even federal law. And but of course, it's not just about the USA; it's happening everywhere. So you know, I think, to quote the Dalai Lama, Western women will save the world. I think what happens here will ripple out everywhere. So I just see it as so positive, such a new beginning. Everything about it shows me that, to be quite honest. What about you?
Well, I just want to caution people that there's always volatility when eclipses are at play.
Oh,
Always.
absolutely. I'm talking about the long term.
Oh, long time. Right. So that but my point being that whatever surface events are going on in September and October, maybe even November, it's not the end of the story.
No.
There's a process. There's a process that's in motion, and we'll see more by March, and then we'll see more over the next couple of years. And everything is interconnected, but these are just big cleaning up, clearing out, and then, okay, reset button, whoosh, moments. You can look at Libra as being the social contract, how we are agreeing that we're going to do things, legislation,
justice,
how we handle the courts.
Yes.
That's another topic.
Yes. Won't know say any more about that. But of course, you know, because it's an eclipse, it is a Libra eclipse, but the North Node is still in Aries, which is Mars ruled. And that's in Cancer at 15 degrees on the eclipse, which is conjunct the sun of the USA, which is at 13 Cancer. So, but I also always kind of see Mars in Cancer, Mars in water signs, as really kind of softening the energy of Mars. But also it can be overprotective because, you know, and I think there's still going to be the resistance, of course, like, you know, we like things the way we are. We don't want this new beginning. And, you know, those people that are very stuck kind of in how it was. Yeah.
Or how they wish it had been. How they wish it had been. It's a fantasy.
Oh, it is a
Um,
fantasy, yeah. But, you know, they're going to feel threatened. You know, I think with Mars in Cancer, that this is going, they're going, you know, I don't like the way this is going. So there is going to be volatility for sure, some storms, but I don't see it as, you know, civil war coming or things like that.
oh,
At
me
all.
neither.
Mm-mm.
But to add to what is going on with the October eclipse, Mars is in a sign ruled by the moon. Mars
Yes.
is in it's being ruled by a feminine influence, and one that is completely underneath conscious thought. It's just there. It's what's in your body. It's from the womb. So
Yeah.
there's a potentially non-thinking, but definitely feminine focused
Mm.
uh, streak in whatever Mars is up to right now. And I find it fascinating that at this moment in time, we have an absolute dichotomy of the male relation to family, Mars in Cancer. One
Mm.
is, I control, I'm going to do everything, and you sit over there and be quiet. And one is a man who gave his career up to stand next to a powerful woman, and who
Yes.
actually has a good enough relationship with his ex-wife that she's helping the
Uh-huh.
current wife. In
Yeah.
what universe has that been happening? And then we also have a absolute dad energy,
Mm.
committed family dad energy. So I'm going to say that the two presidential tickets in the United States are modeling extremes of the potential of Mars in Cancer. And with this eclipse in Libra, the feminine's going to win out.
Oh, definitely. And one of my favorite, you know, planets, which is a dwarf planet, is what some people call asteroid series. She's opposing Mars on this eclipse as well in the sign of Capricorn. And Capricorn is the structures that we live under to a degree as well. And we've seen all the structures, kind of all the reveals of what's not working in the structures of our own lives and the greater lives. And Ceres is out of bounds, wildly out of bounds, which
Oh, I
means
didn't
that she,
realize that.
oh yeah, she at the moment she's more out of bounds than I can't find any time she was. But she is related to the moon energy as well. She's kind of like the grandmother moon in a way, kind of thing,
Mhm.
the great mother. She also represents she, you know, over the earth, like the grain, the harvest. So, you know, bringing us back to potential water events, storms that may bring some problems. But she's opposing Mars, that Mars in Cancer that's moon ruled as well. You know, for want of a better word, the patriarchy is just dying. It's. I almost feel like the bubble's gone out of it already. You know, when you talked about the dynamic, you know, coming from the side that wants to like hold on to power over and dominate a culture and all that kind of thing. They're just what their words say. It just sounds hollow and empty now. It's like it's gone almost. Yeah.
So there could be some overboard in attempt to hang on
Oh,
to stuff, but people do not freak. Do not freak.
do not. No, please do not freak. And don't fear eclipses. You know,
Oh, God, no.
I also believe we're co-creators with the cosmos, and how we respond and react to it helps bring in possibilities and potential. But that's how I work.
So
Let things
as we near the end of our time, do you have any, like, overarching wrapping up words about the shift over in the eclipse family? Is there anything about eclipses or this fall?
just
Anything?
this is one of the biggest ones I've seen in you know, the whole time I've been looking at eclipses. Not just because of the eclipses, but because of those as well. And but do know that it launches, you know, something that unfolds over time. So whilst things might happen very close to the eclipses, it's what's coming after that really is the potential. So,
The revelations are probably going to be just mind-blowing, I
Oh,
honestly think.
I think so. And it's coming so close to the election here, you know. The new moon eclipse is just 5 weeks before the election.
Well, so let's talk a little bit more about what you're up to or where people can find you, what you do. We have a few minutes for that.
Oh, well,
So
you know me. I'm prolific. I'm always doing things. I write on Substack prolifically. I run classes, courses. I have a membership, a YouTube channel, Cosmic Owl Astrology. You can find me everywhere. I'm running a masterclass teaching the Venus star point, and that does bring me back to the eclipses actually a little bit,
all right,
because
please.
I work with the Venus star point work, and in October we had the first Libra Venus star point that's going to be in play for over 100 years, and we're just in the last Mars ruled ones before we move into a Pisces Venus star point. So that brings me back to the eclipses as well. We are moving into a Venus time period in so many ways.
Oh no, that's a beautiful one I didn't know about.
Mhm. Mhm.
So okay, what is your Substack?
It's Cosmic Owl Astrology, Substack, Cosmic Owl Astrology, and YouTube, Cosmic Owl Astrology, Facebook page, Cosmic Owl Astrology. My website is louiseedington.com.
So, what's with the owl? You just like owls?
No, Pallas Athena, the asteroid, is exactly
Uh,
conjunct
I'm
my
sorry.
Jupiter, which is my ruling planet. And
Well, that's just so obvious. It makes all the sense in the world.
yes, yeah, and I've always liked owls. So. But
So,
yeah.
and this fall, do you have any September, October, November? You have any classes, any programs, any projects people can find?
Well, I'm teaching a masterclass an hour after we record this, so this will be gone by the time this ends. But
Right.
but I will I'm actually going to be offering a free thing in November. I'm not going to say what it is yet, but I want to, just watch this space. Maybe sign up for my newsletter. It's going to be wonderful, and I'm actually going to talk to Kathy about it afterwards.
Oh,
And
good.
and then I do a Venus retrograde class every Venus retrograde, which is every 19 months. That 19 years eclipse cycle, 19 months Venus cycle is fascinating. And that's coming up starting in February, but it's a big class and it's very powerful. So if people want to know more about that, there's a wait list for that. So.
A wait list. Oh boy. That's excellent. Well, thank you. And also just Louise has great stuff on her Facebook page for Cosmic Owl. Hysterical memes. So please, they just follow.
Because I love to have fun as well. So
Right.
I like
Uh-huh.
I post the pop memes just to lighten the mood a little bit sometimes as well. People get so serious.
Well, I thank you so much. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for coming back and having this long conversation with me. I really appreciate it. Everybody, stay grounded and use your logical mind, and then also give yourself over to vast inspiration. How's that? We're all in this together.
Oh,
For me, you can find me at empowermentunlimited.net. I have weekly moon and monthly forecasts. They are also at omtimes.com minus the weekly podcast, and on my YouTube channel, Professional Aquarian. And my Patreon is patreon.com/Kathy Beal, where I have a monthly Ask Me Almost Anything, and we look at charts. We do whatever people want to talk about, and new feature, dad jokes. So thanks, everyone.
and we are planning something too, by the way.
Yes, and we are planning something too. So just watch what's going to be going on between the two of us and another co-conspirator. So everyone, be safe. Thanks very much, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.
Thanks, Kathy. Bye.